we're kind of doing the chicken before the egg here, the egg before the chicken. We're going to talk about, now that the Transformers Titans Returns series has ended, there already has begun talk about the cast and the series for Transformers Power of the Prime, series by Machinima and the Go 90 network and all of that. We're going to talk about the last 2 episodes of Transformers Titans Returns in the next segment, but right now we'll just talk about the news, because I felt like a lot of people had this thrown in their face long before we knew anything was happening. Pretty much they're listed. It's a pretty star-studded cast of people that's going into Power of the Primes. And considering it's also going to add on to some trickle over from Titans Return, that's going to be a pretty crazy cast that we're going to have of people here. And it's funny that when I look at the crew of people, it's like an 80s bonanza in a lot of ways. I mean, like, I'm just going to jump and say like Mark Hamill, but like Mark Hamill, I understand Star Wars is late 70s, but I mean, 2 of those movies were 80s, so including a holiday special. Less said, the better. But yeah, so we'll just jump into it. So pretty much,
I would also give Ron Perlman that as well.
Okay.
And some people might be like, well, what did he do in the 80s? He did the live action Beauty and the Beast with Linda Hamilton. He was the Beast. So he's no stranger to prosthetics.
The Lion Beast. I remember that one. Yeah. Jeez.
Wendell does it again.
Yes. Either way, so obviously, as Wendell said, so they announced a bunch of actors that are going to be in the final part of this trilogy that's going to be coming out. They don't have a date yet. They pretty much say, second quarter of 2018. So it's actually not too far away. I'm actually quite surprised. It probably means that they've been maybe working on this all this time as we speak. But of the actors that have been announced, the first major one that's new to us being Mark Hamill. And for the so few people that don't know who Mark Hamill is, he was most famously known as one of those guys from Wing Commander. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Wing Commander's so awesome.
That's what he was known for, right?
Yeah.
And what else was he known for? Oh, yeah, he was that guy who died in the Guyver live-action movie.
Oh yeah, he was the detective.
Yeah,
and then he got turned into a Zoanoid. If I remember, that's the name of they're called.
Anyways, the point is
he was also in Darksiders. He was like your Navi character.
There you go.
He's done some good stuff.
So he's done some indie stuff. Some
wasn't
people.
He on the Muppet Show? Yeah,
I think he was on the Muppet Show. I don't know why he was on the Muppet Show.
Very talented actor.
I think he was I think he was probably friends with Jim Henson or something, because I can't imagine why back then he was on the Muppet Show. I mean, clearly Guyver wouldn't be out for another at least decade. So
yeah,
but anyways,
I think he was good friends with Frank Oz, probably.
So yeah, so this indie actor Mark Hamill guy. So he's gonna be playing Megatronus, which is that's pretty awesome. And for anyone, I mean, I don't want to jump ahead, but for anyone who saw the last episode of Titans Returns, that actually was his voice acting debut. Like, he will not be debuting in this series. He already did. In the last episode of Titans Return. So if that was a spoiler for you guys, sorry about that. But so Megatronus, aka the Fallen. When I heard his voice, I actually didn't even know it was Mark Hamill.
Same here.
Props to him.
I always like when you hear a voice actor and you don't know it's them. Like,
oh yeah,
they're really changing it up. They're really getting their acting on, and I feel, if he does something like that, he's definitely he definitely cares about what he's doing, what he's working on.
Yeah, because I love Scott McNeil. Don't get me wrong, I love Scott McNeil, but I swear I could hear his voice in any character he ever does from a mile away. Like, it's just you hear a character talking, you're like, is that Scott McNeil? Like, it just
I would beg to differ that on Beast Wars you'd be, if you didn't know him, if you
for
didn't hear
Silverbolt.
him.
I think his Silverbolt was really good.
His Silverbolt is him, but I feel his Rat Trap, Dinobot, Waspinator are all distinct enough from each other, and they're just so different. Like you would, if you weren't paying attention, you'd be like, "Oh, that's not the same guy." And then when you realize that you're like, that person's playing, it's just one man playing all those characters in this one episode.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
we got, again, Mark Hamill, probably the headliner going into this new series, even though he already made his debut at the end of the last. Next one we have here is, of course, Ron Perlman.
Yep,
And
no stranger to voice acting. He was in Afro Samurai as Justice. He was also in the Conan video game as the main person, Conan.
and for people who don't know who Ron Perlman is, again, like Wendell was saying before, Hellboy.
He was also in what was it called again? Oh, come on, Wendell. Teen Titans. He was Slade, aka
Right. And that's actually
Slade's Death. What's his name? Deathstrike? No.
Deathstroke.
Deathstroke. Thank you.
It's just they probably just couldn't call him that.
Yeah, they obviously couldn't. But
yeah, so he's listed to play Optimus Primal, which is a very interesting choice. I'm really curious. I mean, that character is so ingrained with Gary Chalk, and hearing that epic, authoritative voice, that I'm really curious how the character is going to be characterized in this G1-esque continuity, and in a modern G1-esque continuity, as opposed to, say, a future G1 continuity, which is Beast Wars. Or alternatively, is Ron Perlman just going to like do his own thing, and it's still going to be based on that kind of Primal? I'm very curious how they.
I kind of feel it's going to be based on Gary Chalk's Primal, because I can kind of hear Gary Chalk and Ron Perlman kind of being similar. It would just be Ron Perlman, instead of playing either a snarky scoundrel kind of guy, he would probably have to play a more straight-laced a little bit. Like how you had David Kaye playing Megatron in Beast Wars, and then Optimus in in animated. I feel when I hear his voice, I think he could do it, but I haven't heard him play a straight-laced good guy. And I remember a friend of mine was working on the Justice League game that came out, I think, on PS2, Justice League Heroes, and they kind of felt that he was phoning it in as Batman. But
oh, really?
Yeah. But he's done a lot. He's done quite a few things. He's done Hellboy, the animated show and stuff. He's done quite a bit of things. So he's not. I don't think he's. We'll see how he handles this. Oh, look at that! He was in The Tick. He was Fiery Blaze.
Oh God, that's like a one-shot character.
Yeah. Just to let you know, who he kind of played. But I think if he's given the good material, I think he can kind of do it. I think he can do it.
Well, let's hope so.
Let's
hope so. So he's going to be Primal, and then continuing off of the let's put it this way, bigger celebrities. We also have, again, returning Judd Nelson. I don't want to say who, just in case you guys didn't see episode 10 yet. It's Rodimus, but it's a dark Rodimus, I guess. Rodimus Kron, as it's called. How that happened, well, you're just going to have to tune in to the end of Titan's Return to see, or listen to our review, plug, that's going to be coming up. We have Samoa Joe. This is an interesting one because it also kind of confirms another thing, too, that we've been speculating. Number one, so Samoa Joe, who's former NXT professional wrestler, become WWE professional wrestler.
Also other accolades in the indie circuit as well. I think he was in Ring of Honor, yeah. Ring of Honor, yeah.
So he apparently, looking into it, because I only know Samoa Joe as a wrestler. When I found out that he was doing this, I went into his profile and found out he's actually done voiceover work before for video games. So he kind of already has those acting chops. He's done Dota stuff and this and that. Apparently he's a big geek himself, so this is something that he's super excited about. And he's going to be Predaking. Now, what's interesting about this is that kind of goes back now to the early rumblings of those HasCon leaks that we were discussing, that we, to this day, still never confirmed or saw anything about a Predaking.
Yeah,
even though there was
exactly.
leaks of it. So this kind of more or less confirms that Predaking is a thing in the Power of the Primes, and it's just like everything that we have in this list of characters thus far, with the exception of the Primes, which is guaranteed they're going to get toys sooner or later. Everyone here has a toy, with the exception of Predaking that we know of. Now, again, going back to those HasCon leaks,
I think this might also tie into something else we'll talk about later on.
Oh yeah,
in the
totally.
coming days.
Yeah,
I have to make a note of that actually.
yeah. But either way, like, so this more or less confirms that Predaking is going to probably be getting some kind of toy or something, as per the leaks from HasCon. Samoa Joe is going to be voicing him, so that's pretty cool. It's funny now, like 2018, we already got 2 WWE wrestlers involved in Transformers. Yeah.
Well, I think one of the cool things about Samoa Joe playing Predaking is that you have to remember a lot of times wrestlers have to be like pretty much improv gods. You know, when they're
think on your feet
on the mic, and you have to think on your feet, think on the top of their heads, and make it sound cool. And what can I say in this moment to get this guy to get this reaction from the crowd, etc., etc. So I'm very happy to see him on this casting list, and just another person that's into doing voice acting, and definitely getting into it this way as well.
And he seems, because again, when he announced it and everything, he actually seems like someone who probably was casually a Transformer fan. So it's not just someone who, is just, oh, it's a job. He's someone who legitimately looked like he was probably a fan when he was a kid at some point. So I dig that a lot, and it's really cool. It's like, so we have John Cena in the movie verse, we got Samoa Joe in animation. Now all we need is, I don't know, CM Punk writing a comic for IDW, and I think we got all 3 of the mediums covered.
Maybe The Rock as Roadblock again, and then cross it over.
We need another wrestler doing something video game related, and then we're good.
Maybe the reboot is like the actual first thing in the Hasbro Universe movies now.
Well, see, that's the irony, is if you want to talk video game related, The Rock right now is doing Rampage, so and we're not talking the Transformer character, we're talking the Midway arcade cabinet game. So then we have Samoa Joe. After that, we also have some new faces they're guys that do other stuff in the industry, but they're just people. So like this guy named Mikey Way, who apparently who's part of a rock band called My Chemical Romance. Mm-hmm. He's going to be Snarl from the Dinobots. Frank Todaro, who again was doing an amazing job as Megatron. He's going to be returning as Sludge. We have.
Did he also do Starscream?
I believe so.
If I'm looking up his IMDb page here,
I believe
he
so.
Did Starscream as well.
We have Jamie King, who I had to do some research on. Apparently, she was in Pearl Harbor. I don't know who she was in Pearl Harbor. I haven't seen that movie in forever.
Mm. And also, just a quick thing, Daniel. Protoman, I think Frank is I could be completely wrong. I think he's the guy that did the interview with Judd Nelson as well.
He was the one who did the interview with Judd Nelson.
Yeah. Again, I always wanted to praise this man over and over.
Yeah, he did
an
an amazing job. He did an amazing
job
in that interview. So Jamie King here, who apparently was in Pearl Harbor, she also did some voice acting stuff for Star Wars Clone Wars. She's going to be Solus Prime, who is one of the original 13. She was the female Prime.
She was also in Sin City and White Chicks.
Okay, so she's done the stuff that
she's done movies. She's done movies.
Okay, that's why. Because I was like, who was she in Pearl Harbor? Because that's the only thing I'm really familiar with that she's done.
Apparently, she's been on episodes of Robot Chicken.
Okay, there's more voice acting there.
Yeah.
All the combiners, more or less, from Menasor, Devastator, Computron, which is Matt Pat and Nasun and all that. They're all going to be returning. Overlord is going to be returning with his voice actor. We're going to have Will Wheaton returning with Perceptor. The only other major new addition out of all of this, aside from that, is we're seeing the return of Gregg Berger as Grimlock.
Yeah.
So Gregg, who, I can't argue with it. Gregg always does an amazing job as Grimlock. It's in his DNA so to speak.
He is Grimlock.
He is, well, that's just it. He is Grimlock,
and
not to mention, he's done Grimlock for the video game Transformer stuff when High Moon had the franchise with Fall of Cybertron, Rise of the Darkspark, and I believe, well, actually, Devastation was, what's it called there, that other company?
Oh, Platinum Games.
Yeah, but he also did for, so he already covered, Grimlock in the off season, so to speak. I mean, he didn't do Grimlock in, let's say, the Michael Bay movies, but I mean, really, he would have been wasted if he was there. He would have got a good paycheck, though, probably, if he got a percentage, but he would have been wasted. And also, it confirms that he'll also be voicing the combined mode of Volcanicus, which is the combined mode of the Dinobots. What this does confirm is, unlike the other combiners that we've had since the first animated series by Machinima with Combiner Wars, all the combiners never had individual modes really fleshed out. You didn't have Devastator separate to pieces and really have those characters fleshed out, neither with Menasor, neither with Computron. It shows here that it looks like the Dinobots are going to be individuals and also something that's going to be a factor with the combined. The only thing that's kind of sad about this is it has the 5 Dinobots, but it doesn't feature the 6th Dinobot, which is the female one, if you will. So it's kind of a shame.
Or maybe it's just not announced yet?
Could be. Because and the only reason
the benefit of the doubt.
And the only reason why I bring it up is just because when I looked at the character designs of Menasor and Computron and all of them, if you actually look at their CG designs, they actually include, because for people that aren't familiar, all the Combiner Wars combiners, they made their traditional combiner modes, but they also had always a 6th member that was like a smaller, legend scale figure that would attach to the body. So in the case of, let's say, Menasor, Blackjack, who was one of the Micromasters back in the day, actually made a chest piece. And they still included that on the animation models. So technically, Blackjack, was in, Titans Returns and Combiner Wars and stuff like that. So that being said, I'm kind of surprised that that the female Dinobot character is absent in this case, because, up to this point, they've all been included, so it's kind of a shame, but maybe something will be announced later. Not too sure yet.
Maybe.
But we'll find out as time progresses.
And something I want to point out, too, to this is that one thing I'm noticing is that you got Primal, you got the Dinobots, you got Predaking, and there's a lot of animals in this series, it seems like. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, wherever, probably swinging into our review, wherever they're going, it seems like it's a place that has animals. It seems like they're going to go to a planet that has animals.
That was the big red herring at the end.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into when we get into the review. We'll probably, that's the main reason why I wanted to discuss this stuff first before we went into our review, because it then really gives us more clarification when we're going to talk about those final 2 episodes, because it gives us a better insight going into it. But yeah, interesting cast list, really stacked, a lot of great stuff here. I'm glad to see Overlord's voice actor is going to be coming back, because he was kind of a joy to have.
Standout, definite standout.
Yeah, he was definitely a standout for sure. So, and just great to have Gregg Berger back. We'll see what this brings for sure.